Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another round of our entrepreneurship program via the CEO CTO series. Very happy to host this afternoon, and thank you for coming and spending your afternoon with us. We've got a very interesting host and a topic in hand. Uh, the Let me just give you a quick insight towards the CEO CTO series. So the CEO CTO series started in May this year as part of Project Enterprise. It went on a monthly basis. We've got some very good speakers that came and shared their presentations with us. It was initially run by our consultant, Mr. Dakshinamurthy. The last session was actually moderated by our wonderful fancy Miss Mira Iswaran. And then going forward, we will be doing a lot of more work in the future uh, in this series in 2022. Today is the last series or the last session for 2021. Uh, this is the time where I also like to give appreciation to the backdoor team uh, who have helped us ensure that we have got the program set on time, in timely fashion, uh, communicated with the speaker, and done all the necessary backdoor actions in order to make this real time and live for you to watch. So I'd like to thank Rachel, who who's part of the academic team, as part also of the enterprise at APU team that coordinates the CEO CTO series. Then there's our dear, wonderful, big arms, Mr. Jerry Ling, who does all the ICT infrastructure so that we are live and we are clear and there are no disruptions for this live session. Then there's the entire backdoor team that actually coordinates with the correct team, putting everything in place. There's an entire project enterprise team uh, that is led by Prof. Angelina and the whole team. I'd like to thank them as well. And it's so sad that we've come to the last session for the year. We've got many interesting speakers that have come. And just like them, today it's my honor to introduce you to my good friend, Mr. Jeffrey Tan from Superceed, Sindran Berhad, who has been a very good collaborator with APU. Let me say that first. And as an individual, it's mind-boggling because he's an intellectual with a high pedigree in AI. So when I first met Jeffrey, he had a very interesting title, which was the first of his kind that I had heard of. But today he has made it a bit more clearer by being the CEO of Superseed Sundan Berhad. Uh, it's been a wonderful journey with Jeffrey and Superseed. They have done a lot of collaboration via investments. I'm not going to tell you the numbers because of our privacy between both parties, but very interesting high numbers in terms of investment onto our AI studio, and also the hiring of our talent workforce, predominantly as interns who are working on real life projects. And that has been a real plus point. I want to thank Jeffrey for that. Uh, uh, for all the collaborative actions, Jeffrey. And I think it has been wonderful because as a university, we are the first to offer programs in AI, and we are up there in AI. No one can beat us, I can tell you that. But there's always room for improvement because just like any tech field, AI is ever evolving. And today, your talk is one area of the evolvement, which is emotional AI in customer experience transformation. And that is a fantastic topic because from a business perspective, the customer comes first, and nothing you can do should be in any form a disruptor to customer satisfaction. Now, having said that, Jeffrey has got a very good insight into AI. Uh, AI has grown in popularity among all our marketers and sales professionals. We use AI on campus as well. It is a tool that brands can use to create the humanistic touch, the personalized touch into customer experience. Yeah, and it's just a matter of time before AI takes over the entire business infrastructure to make it a better and more competitive field. So Jeffrey, welcome on board, and thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for spending your afternoon with us. Yeah, Jeffrey
Pleasure.
is also a industrial advisory member of APU under our cluster of computing technology, and he has also contributed some of his thoughts in the curriculum that has been developed. So Jeffrey, I'm going to pass it over to you because I know you got a bunch of slides and on your topic, and the floor is yours. The screen is yours, Jeffrey.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. I'm going to start by sharing my slides and do a bit of introduction on our company. And yeah, just hang on a second. So I hope everyone is able to uh, take a look at my slides. Uh,
Yes, it's
Everyone
clear,
can see
Jeffrey.
it?
Yeah.
Okay, great,
Yes, yes.
great. All right, so I'll just start very briefly about our company. Yeah, our company is Superceed, and we've transformed ourselves over the years to become an emotion AI company. We're privately held, self-funded. We're a fast-growing AI company, focusing on the APAC markets. We're also expanding into other regions, such as the US market. We have recently set up a presence in Palo Alto, California, and also strategic parts of Asia, such as Vietnam, Cambodia, Malaysia, Singapore, Jakarta. We have ecosystem partners worldwide, and we have integrated with a lot of key players. Uh, and collaboration with Asia Pacific is a very unique collaboration. This is the first major collaboration we've done with a Malaysian university, and we're proud of this collaboration. Just to share a little bit on our innovation history, we started off in 2011 as a virtual call center applications and platform, expanded into virtual workforce and omni-channel, which combines all the call management capabilities with mobile messaging, social media, live chats, and so on. So in 2017, we started thinking we have a lot of interaction data, a lot of operational data, but we don't know what the customer is feeling, and neither do most of the customer experience centers. So this inspired us to develop what is known today as Emotion AI, which combines three key technologies: the facial emotional intelligence, the voice emotional intelligence, and natural language understanding. And we apply it into areas where we could augment uh, work in service and sales, and also pursue the automation part. We've diversified into AI personality engines, predictive engines, and adaptive learning, all with a view of providing augmentation and automation to various vertical industries. I'll start with to move into today's theme, which is how we use emotion AI to transform customer experience. So we come up with this big question: is every brand losing up to US 400 million per year, which means it is a sizable problem to the industry. So essentially, customer loyalty is slipping away, and there's nothing seems working to capture it. We have the best training, the best coaching, the best CRM, telephony infrastructure, analytics, uh, but we're failing fast. Brands excel at one-time customers, enticing them with promotions, discounts, but they fail at customer retention, and they also fail at customer account expansion. and all these things leads to lost revenue, which eventually means that brands are essentially collapsing. So according to some research, the customer experience index uh, shows that there are zero excellent brands, and 72% of brands are on verge of falling scores. 28% of brands have falling or low scores. And the brand's missing component is the unaddressed customer emotions. And in 95% of industries, emotion is the customer's top decision driver. 63% of consumers believe their words and actions can influence brands, and 87% of customers that had a positive emotional experience increased wallet share. So these are just to show the underlying importance of having addressed customer emotions in the customer experience management. So, in summary, brands need customer experience transformation, and that includes pre-interaction, real-time interaction, and a post-interaction. And this is where we apply a lot of exciting emotion AI technologies, particularly on real-time interaction capabilities to empower the customer-facing staff with real-time emotional intelligence to not just manage customers, but to provide this low-effort resolution, which is an important part of customer loyalty, as well as value enhancement, which would actually accelerate and enhance customer loyalty significantly. And once we finish the interaction, we need to analyze the customer's emotions, and that forms the pre-interaction information, so that we know what the customer is thinking, expecting, feeling, and doing uh, in the next phase of interaction. So this whole cycle repeats itself, and this is the where emotion AI plays a huge role. So in this schematic diagram, uh, sorry, just to reconnect with the audience, are you getting my connection?
Yes, I
Prof?
can see.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
it's
Great.
clear.
I'm just a
Please carry
little
on.
afraid about losing connection along the
Yeah, I know.
way
With
as I
StreamYard,
speak.
you don't know whether people are actually listening to you. I
Yes,
can hear you. That's
yes.
why I decided to
Okay.
stay still
Thank you
online.
so
Yeah.
much.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So yeah, so this is a schematic diagram that tries to capture the essence of what we do in emotion AI. So in emotion AI, what we're trying to do is we have built along the years customer experience that consolidates your calls, your social media, email, mobile messaging, chats. And this is for the business organization. Yeah. So you have all these channels coming in, but how do you provide two important layers? First, the automation layer, and the second, which is the augmentation layer. So in the automation layer, what we want to do is we want to automate interactions that are easy to handle. The repetitive tasks, uh, uh, the access to information that users just want to have very fast and easy access to information. Those are the things that we could use a chatbot perhaps or voice bot to interact with the users. But for more complex queries, we need humans to handle it. So that comes the augmentation part. In the augmentation part, we want to empower the customer facing staff in terms of language capabilities, in terms of emotion, in having the ability to understand emotions, behaviors, and contexts more effectively. So, how does language work? We embed the multilingual capabilities. So there's auto translation happening. So uh, even if I know English only, for example, and you try to converse with me in other languages other than English, so it will do this auto translation in the background if I'm doing a live chat with you. I will type in English and it will translate it back into your native language, back and forth, back and forth. In terms of emotion, providing the emotional intelligence, when I speak to the customer as a customer facing staff, um, usually staff are left to do it at their own discretion and give them some training, and they handle based on the situation. Sometimes they don't know what to say at the right time, what are the right things to say at the right time. So this provides, with Emotion AI, it provides this trigger that helps you to say, oh, okay, you're speaking too fast. Lower your pace, or your energy level is too low, raise your energy, or customers are angry, this is what you should do, or quickly bring up a relevant topic from the knowledge base to solve the issue very quickly. Yeah, so these are the things that we combine: the emotion, the behavior, and the context to help a low effort resolution and issues to be resolved really quickly. So that includes auto classification, supervisory alert. If the customer is scolding uh, the customer-facing staff, what do you do as a supervisor? So that's alert, and that's for intervention, and quality assurance. So quality assurance is also very interesting because um, in traditional customer experience centers, you have like 10,000 calls a day or 5,000 emails. How do you sort and know which are the angry calls, or which are the angry emails coming in? But with Emotion AI, you're able to understand the tonality of voice. It gives you color indicators so you could sort and filter. It detects the written words, the context of the written words, and is able to say, okay, these are the frustration, these are the complaints, these are the different types of issues, and that you have to follow up. So immediately it filters 100% of the daily interactions, regardless of volume. You could auto train agents as well using AI. You can have dashboard AI driven metrics to help improve performance. So this is a very high level overview of the customer experience stack. So the customer experience stack allows us to uh, address customer experience in four levels. The first level is the automation, and then you have the omni-channel, which is the multi-channel coming in. How do you handle that? And Emotion AI layer that allows you to see, to look at the customer journey, not just look at the interaction journey of the customer, but also the emotional journey of the customer. And for the first time, we have visibility into what the customer is thinking, expecting, feeling, and while interacting with the different touch points of the business. And number four, we have the emotion analytics, which gives us actionable insights into what do I do if I know that the customer is angry? What do I do next? Or what should we do to improve our processes so that customers do not have to face the same issue again? So this is what Emotion AI could do on a very high level. And we have having Emotion AI itself is it's a silo if we do not open up and to the ecosystem of players, solutions that are already the existing solutions, such as the CRM solutions, that which is essentially a customer relationship management solution. So you have a lot of dominant players like Salesforce, Zoho, Zendesk, HubSpot, and so on. So what we do essentially is not to close our solution to these ecosystem players, but to open it up to see what are the areas that we could uh, add value to the existing CRM solutions. So one reason is for the commercial base, so we could tap an existing commercial customers that already using a form of CRM and want to enhance it take it to the next level with Immersion AI. Also to tap into other ecosystem partners like cloud contact centers. Cloud contact centers are already a full-fledged customer call management solution, and but they don't necessarily have the ability to analyze customer emotions, uh, and this is where we also want to add value to it. There are a lot of established premise-based customer experience solutions. The third part, we want to go through these system integration partners to tap into all these established solutions that you see at the bottom, premise-based contact center vendors. You have the very nice Avaya and so on. So this is what we want to do in a nutshell. So first, we want to build the full solution stack. And second, we want to be able to integrate with uh, the whole ecosystem of partners, the CRM players, the cloud contact centers, the premise-based contact center vendors, and so on. And finally, what we want to develop is a developer ecosystem. We want to have all the Immersion AI capabilities that people could actually one day just call the functionalities uh, low code or no code level, that we could actually propagate the capabilities globally. So yeah, so that's what we do in a nutshell. We are excited and we're keen to actually attract talents from APU to work together with us on a lot of exciting projects, a lot of exciting possibilities that we could expand further with our core Immersion AI technologies. So yeah, so with that, I shall conclude my presentation today, and I'll pass the floor over to Prof again. Thank you very much for staying with us thus far, and yeah, I hope to answer some of the questions if you have any.
Yeah, there's some questions already coming about, Jeff. But thank you for the presentation. Very technical. But from a business intelligence perspective, I see that the company has grown and it has gone into a very good market prominence position now. Kudos to you, Jeff, to yourself, and the entire team at Superceed. I got a
Yeah,
couple of
thank you.
questions, but I want to take
Okay.
questions from the floor as well, and then we'll chit chat along the way. I've
All
got a
right.
question from Hao Tong. What are the challenges if big tech companies use AI as customer service?
Okay. I think that's a very good question. Um, One of the challenges that they would face is legacy application, because legacy application are essentially what the components, the software components that you need to run a customer experience centers. Traditionally, would be you need a CRM, you need a telephony solution, you need some big data analytics. These things, most of the customer experience centers already have, and they are already using some sort of the vendors that I've just shared with you. So for telephony, you may be using some very nice Avaya Genesis solution, and you may be using for CRM, you may be using Salesforce, you may be using Zoho, you may be using Zendesk, and so you have what you have is actually uh, uh, a lot of silos, what I would call as silos, which are sometimes um, not really integrated kind of solutions, because you end up opening multiple windows, one for your telephony, one for your CRM, and so on. So the challenges would actually be at the system integration level. So if you want to achieve, if you want the ability to analyze emotion, for example, in your voice, then we have to go into integrating with the telephony players, the Genesis, the Avaya, and so on. So this is a challenge that we foresee And that is why the ecosystem play is very important to actually make the immersion AI as an API that you can easily embed into third-party solutions. So also in terms of CRM as well. So you have the Salesforce. We go all out to the Salesforce platform to look at what are the ways that we could embed and value add into the existing features of Salesforce. So when the enterprise customers say, "Hey, I want to implement immersion AI because it gives us a new dimension in analyzing the voice of customers," so then we say, "Hey, we already have all these readily integrated stacks, integrated APIs that, okay, if you're on platform A, you could use this. If you're on Genesis, you could use Genesis API. Uh, if you're on this, what do you call, Nice or Variant, you could have the Nice or the Variant API. So very much like ready-made solutions, integration solutions. So hope that answers your question. Should tech company
Yeah,
use Mission AI in the future?
another one that's just come up. Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead, Jeff, take it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think not just tech companies. I think all companies, if you're at a certain size and certain kind of interaction volume, because I think immersion AI essentially what we do in Superseed is that we're targeting high volume interaction. Because only if it's high interaction, then it would be really useful. If you're a small company, you're a one-two-man show, then you won't find much use for it because I could just whisper to the guy next to me and say, "Hey, you shouldn't do this. Next time you should do this." So there's a lot of ability to provide personal attention. But if you're talking about 10,000 calls a day or 20,000 emails a day or I don't know, maybe 50,000 live chats a day, then it involves a lot of people, a lot of collaboration. And how do you set standards? And if you set standards, how do you ensure the execution of standards? And how do you ensure that it propagates to the entire organization? So one of the ways is the ability to use real-time immersion AI capabilities. If you say, well, our organization values empathy on top of the bottom line, we value the customer experience, the customer relationship. So this is where we need to actually uh, have this ability to integrate this emotion AI into the real time interaction.
All right.
So hope that answers the question. Yeah.
I think it answered for me. I'm gonna spin it a bit and take it a bit away from the tech perspective. And I'm gonna come back to your roots, Jeff. You were an intellectual that moved into AI. You are a very uh, ground-based. Your strength is in the tech side of things. I would call you a very good CTO in terms of things that you have developed for business sense. But I want to start with ideation, right? Ideation is the fundamental first step in any innovation progression. Now, how do you know at that point in time, back when you first started, that your idea was the right idea and it was in the right way to take the right idea to take forward? Yeah. That's the first
Right.
question. The second question that is aligned to it is how do you test your idea? Do you benchmark it? Do you pilot it? Do you run it through various users? How do you take that ideation that you had when you first started
Well, I think the ideas,
when you were even
yeah, I think the ideas are many. A lot of us would at some point come up with a lot of good ideas. Um, but I think the kind of ideas that are commercializable would be the kind of ideas that would solve a business problem. So always we need to think in terms of solving the pains of the industry. What are the kinds of pains? And we got to make sure that this is really a pain and not a vitamin. So the differentiation is needs to be really clear. And once you have that, you have the problem statement, then you could proceed to validate. And usually, what we validated, there are many ways to do it. You could do it through prototypes, proof of concepts, and then you could come up with things like MVPs, the minimum viable proposition, and then you test it out. And most of the time, if this is your first idea that you're trying to commercialize, you would come across that you need to pivot. You may need to you need to do a lot of validation, get some initial data. It helps if you could have some early customers to actually give you the feedback. And along the way, you may find that you could just make several more iterations of improvements to the product, and you could bring the idea into something closer to commercialization. Or you may find that, this may not necessarily be something that you want to commercialize, but you could pivot into something else. So so these are the thought processes that you would probably go through if you're thinking to go on the path of entrepreneurship, developing a product or a service for your company.
Yeah, I like the way you use the key abbreviation, the MVP. I think that's extremely important in ensuring that it's viable. There's another keyword that we use, feasible. But if there's no viability, there's no point in going forward. I want to take it back a bit. When you develop your idea, and you did speak about pivoting. Now, pivoting happens many a time in your journey towards your end goal, where you're entering into a venture and you're seeking funding for your business. How much of pivoting did you do in your career, especially for your current venture in Superceed?
Uh, I lost count, I guess. So I think pivoting is um, pivoting is not necessarily a bad thing, because we always kind of think that um, maybe this was a product that was my final year project, and it was my baby that I carried on, and I tried to make it into a product that I would like to commercialize. But I think the there needs to be naturally, you have this emotional attachment to what you have developed, uh, but as you go into this line of commercialization, the thought process would more have to be like a market driven kind of validation. If the market if the data that you get from validation is that it's not a viable product, or there's low demand for it, then you would definitely need to pivot. Sometimes pivoting is just a matter of changing some features, tweaking some features to maybe move from one industry to another. So you may have that kind of pivot. For example, just to share some experience, we initially we developed a product called Unified Communication, and it was meant for SMEs, because we were fresh out of university, and we thought of we don't have that many connections to the industry, so we thought we want to do something very subscription based. You could just advertise, and the business would come and buy. So serving SMEs would be sort of like an ideal kind of scenario. Um, but you get a lot of feedback along the way. So you have some early customers, and you will also look at whether you're able to get a critical mass of adopters. If you don't have the critical mass of adopters, then you need to like maybe the market is not SMEs. You may have some fans, you may have some diehard fans who are willing to pay, but you find that uh, they can't allow you to expand and grow to the next level. So that's where you need to like say, hey, maybe it is this product should be targeted towards the enterprise. And what kind of enterprise? Then you may need to do market segmentation. Maybe the medium size, or this you need to go for the MNCs or the PLCs, or you need to go for Fortune 500 companies. So how do you know if you're targeting correctly? I think there's no other way than you should have a hypothesis in your mind and you keep testing. So this doing commercialization is a bit like a science. So you have a certain hypothesis for it. You test the market, you get the data, and you see if it's something viable to pursue. If it's not, then you need to think of other ways to pivot and keep validating until you get to a level of success, and then you could think about, well, what else I could do. Maybe you could try this a little bit, try something else. But before you can actually get to that stage, you need to go through that MVP process. You must have the MVP. MVP is like I think that there's some pictorials they used to have, like you need to have a bicycle. Bicycle is an MVP because it's a fully functional bicycle, but you can't have jump straight away to an EV, which is not completed yet. That is not an MVP. So you need to have a bicycle which is minimal functional, and then you could sell, and then you could say, hey, maybe I want to build a motorcycle. Then the motorcycle, a minute working motorcycle, is another form of MVP. And then you want to test the market, you want to validate. Then you say, hey, I want to be like Elon Musk. Maybe I want to start building an EV. But before you build an EV, maybe you need to build a proton, maybe, and then see if you could sell it. So that form of progression is needed, rather than building an incomplete EV. Yeah, as an example.
Right. Thanks, Jeffrey. I want to touch point on what you brought up about customers. Now, customers, you have a fixed product, and that's good. But in the service line, if your product is for a service perspective, there will be a very common opportunity or potentially tweaking of your product for customer requirements. Now, how is that one point? Have you had that experience whereby you've got a product, and that's a product which has got a common and high utilization volume, but then you have a certain customer that when you go in, they're asking you to tweak your product. Have you had that experience, and how do you sort of entice them with the ingredients that you have for your initial common product, and how do you pitch to them that yes, this product is there, it serves you, but I also can do this to the product which can serve you better. Have you had that experience?
Yes, I think yeah. So basically, what we do in Superceed is that we have different stacks of solutions. That's why we have I've shared the 4 different stacks of solutions. First, we have the automation layer. We have the omni-channel layer. We also have the immersion AI layer. So we don't we just don't go in to a customer and say that, hey, you need immersion AI. You need to come up with you need to identify what at what level is the customer's business at. in terms of customer experience maturity, which stage are they at? And then you could recommend the kind of appropriate solutions. So if the customer is still using humans to do the interaction, so maybe you want to come from the augmentation layer, then you recommend solutions that are meant for augmentation. And if the customer is already having very matured operations, and maybe the problem is actually having high volume interaction that they can't handle anymore, overloaded, for example, then we may recommend solutions that are meant for automation. Maybe you need to deflect some repetitive basic customer interaction with bots. Um, then maybe you will have customers or clients at almost a very high level of maturity, and they say we want to go one level further because we want to maintain our market leadership. We are already the top. We are the top three brands, for example. We want to maintain our market leadership. Well, what do we do next? How do we increase customer loyalty? Then we'll say to them, well, first you need to have low effort resolution. That's not what we say. Actually, it comes from Gartner. The key for customer loyalty is that you must have low effort resolution. That is a must have. If you don't have it, then customers will complain. If you have it, customers won't compliment you. That won't take you to the next level of customer loyalty. What will take you to the next level of customer loyalty is value enhancement. Value enhancement has two things. At the end of the interaction, the customer has to think in two ways. The customer either thinks they made it. They made it easy for me to solve my problems. That's number one. That's the low effort resolution. Then, in terms of value enhancement, they help me do more with with a product or service. For example, if at the end of the interaction, I'm an iPhone user, I complain to an Apple authorized center, and I say, I have this problem in my iPhone, and maybe I'm not a tech savvy person, so I have problems taking pictures, and they help me, and they say, hey, do you know you can actually have this editor that you could crop, and then you could do a lot of fancy stuff with that? Hey, I didn't know that. I've been using iPhone for 3 months. So that's value enhancement. And the second value enhancement is that you could help customers develop this confidence, the self-confidence in purchasing additional products and service. So how do you do that? That's a lot of thought leadership infused kind of framework that you have to include into the immersion AI capabilities. So at the real-time interaction, during the real-time interaction, that's when it matters, when the customer-facing staff could actually tell the customer, these are your options, and these are the pros and cons, and these are the things that will help the customers increase their own confidence in their decision to buy additional products or service. So these are the things that we look at in terms of understanding the maturity of the customer experience of our clients, and advising the right kind of solutions that they need to adopt. So so hopefully that answers the question on what kind of solutions that we will recommend, whether it's additional kind of features, additional kind of solutions. So we always look at the stage of customer experience maturity.
Right. That's good. Customer experience and customer maturity. Uh, Before I continue, there's a question that has popped out. The software that can help to read customers' emotions, program based on input by your own company or input collected from customers' own experience? You want to take that, Jeff?
Okay, if it's programmed based on our inputs, I think um, it depends. That might not be AI already because AI is programming by data, right? In the past, we do programming by logic. We use all sorts of programming language and we say if then else. But in AI, it is essentially programming by data. We look at the kind of data, and then we do clustering, we do classification, we do certain things, and then we say that okay, based on the classification, based on the model, the training model, then I recognize that this is probably 90% chance that this customer is angry or frustrated. There is also an 85% chance uh, that this customer is happy with what I'm saying. So yeah, so essentially, to answer the question, that would be the input collected from the customer experience.
Okay, I'm guessing Jeff got stalled there. I hope I am live. Let me just, on the interim, say a few things while we get him back live. Uh, the a lot of the emotional AI addresses emotional intelligence, and there's one thing which is very commonly used, uh, which is uh, the chatbots. And in chatbots, we have in AP also developed a couple of chatbots. It is very interactive uh, from a perspective of interactions in the virtual world. Uh, some of the chatbots that I know of developed by our students themselves are very, very interesting indeed. I've got a development in called ADs, yeah, which basically is a chatbot that you're talking to a stakeholder of statistics on the number of cases in the country. And then you're able to gain insights onto location-based statistics and the needs of what to do and what not to do. And that has been developed quite well. I've got another one called Hyra, also developed by one of our talents, which actually is an interaction to a booking system for your hairdo or your grooming of your hair at a saloon. So before you actually go to the saloon, you're already prepping with the other side or the uh, the hairstylist on what needs to be done. I think these are chatbots which are very interesting, which I've personally seen, and there's a lot of NLP, natural language processing, that has been put in place basically on text mining. Uh, Now, they do that as part of the behavioral science study that they do to gauge some of the, uh, the responses and the communications. Yep. Because once you move away from the face-to-face interaction, your next form of interaction is virtual, and a lot of this immersion AI is there now creeping in, sorry, into knowing how one person is behaving towards a response. And this is also now creeping into a lot of other forms of communications, especially emails and social media communications. And that's interesting because it's such a powerful tool, emotional AI, and that's what it is. We don't seem to have Jeff back. I think we've lost him. Uh, Let me just check with him. Now, the wonderful thing about StreamYard and live is that I'm not sure that I'm live. I am live. Okay, I just found out that I'm live, and that's put a laughter on me. Oh, we have Jeff. Hi, Jeff. Lost you a bit in the virtual world.
Yes, I'm glad it was towards the end of our discussion.
Yeah, yeah.
I was,
I didn't want to
yeah.
lose you for forever. I was just giving a short introduction of what APU has done in terms of chatbots to the audience. And having seen the growth of chatbots and how it's been used, we've got some interesting talents that have also created chatbots.
Okay.
This is outside the APU chatbot that we have for our marketing purposes, but these are chatbots which have been created very interestingly. I've just got one last question in the interest of time, Jeff. In
Okay.
any business venture, uh, doing it alone is almost impossible. I'm sure when you first started and where you've gotten to today, you have formed partnerships. And APU is a partnership by itself with Superceed. But if I put APU aside, uh, tell us about your partnerships when you first started off to where you are now and how you form these partnerships and what are the key ingredients in forming partnerships.
Okay. So yeah, I think the key ingredients in forming partnerships is of course a win-win, and there are many types of partnerships that we form. Um, for example, the partnership with APU is actually a partnership for us to actually ensure a consistent uh, supply of talents. So to support our expansion on the APU aspect is to have actually an industry collaborator who would be able to provide industry inputs, guidance, mentoring to students who would like to join our projects. Um, Commercialization partners, we depend a lot on channel partners. So channel partners are partners that would represent us in different vertical industries. So because customer experience solutions are actually very broad, so it can be used for telcos, it can be used for banks, healthcare. It can be used in many different industries. So there are subject matter experts in each of these industries, and these are the channel partners that we work very closely together. So if you want to serve telcos, for example, then we would need to engage channel partners who are very well versed with the telco industry, who could actually bring us into the doors of the likes of the dominant telcos in Malaysia or in ASEAN. If we want to go into the banking industry, we need to work with a strong partner who is actually focused on the banking sector. So these are the uh, uh, methods that we adopt. Channel partners are very important people, I mean organizations, because they have the domain expertise or the domain industries. They're trusted by the client. So a referral by them would help us greatly to actually get uh, into the different industries and get the first approval for at least a proof of concept uh, implementation. So as to win the trust of the customer. So yeah, so apart from channel partners, we also have some other different kinds of partners. We may also have technology partners because we can't cover everything in to give it to a client. So maybe or maybe the client says, "Oh, you have a lot of omni-channel capabilities, but we prefer Salesforce. You have a lot of capabilities in telephony, but we prefer to use Genesis. We prefer to use a different vendor. So collaboration in the ecosystem is very, very important. So I think ecosystem partnership is the key. And you find that in all the big companies, established companies, they always have this marketplace concept where third party developers could build on top of their core modules. Uh, that's to highlight. That's it as an example of how important the ecosystem is, even to an established player. And they will also have things like APIs, because API allows you to build a developer ecosystem. So yeah, so nowadays enterprise ecosystems partnerships are built on a few of these common foundations: marketplaces, APIs, and also reseller, different reseller levels or channel partner levels. So you have the platinum, you have the gold, and then different at different levels you have different kind of scope. And as you progress to the platinum level, then you would have the highest responsibility to represent the product.
All right, thanks. I think that's a very nice insight into partnership. Jeff, we've actually come to the end of the session. I must say, Jeff, you brought a lot of technical into how the business is run for a typical AI company as such as yours. And I'm also must say that having viewed the entire CEO CTO series since its inception in May, today's session is the first to actually have a very rounded CEO and CTO perspective of a peer. And we have brought when
Thank you very much for the compliment. I think
from where you start.
my line is still a little bit laggy, but
I'm losing
I
Jeff.
sort of
Okay.
what you
Oh, yes. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for your time this afternoon. Thank you for all the work that you've done to support APU.
Sure.
We're looking
My
forward
pleasure.
to Superceed being on campus. Just like I've always said, people don't want to believe me when I say industry on campus. They say it's impossible. We made that happen. We're going to make that happen even further in 2022. So hats off to you. You're going across the borders now. A couple of ventures you mentioned that now you're doing in the ASEAN market and also in the US. Hope to discuss more of that as we soon meet. And thank you for your time and sharing of thoughts on the topic of emotional AI and customer experience transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, audience in the virtual world, this is the last session for the CEO CTO series for Project Enterprise this year. It has been a wonderful journey. We thank everyone behind the scenes, especially the Project Enterprise team at APU. And we thank all our speakers, including Jeff today. And we look forward to another wonderful journey in 2022, because I know for sure the prep work that is going on is so regimented that it's going to be a blast in 2022. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jeff. Hey, Jeff, you have a great day and a wonderful time. And we will be meeting soon. Yeah, Jeff?
Okay, cool. Thanks, bro.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers. Take care. Bye-bye from APU.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.